Hey guys, what's up? And yeah, I don't got my hat on because I am cooking, and so that means you're going to be seeing my bald head and all that. But this video I've been wanting to do for a long time now. This has been months in the making, but for some weird reason I never got around to it. What I am going to do, instead of doing my usual either ranting videos or philosophical videos or martial arts stuff or Dark Souls 2 stuff, is actually show you a dish that I know how to cook. The reason why I'm doing a cooking thing is because, let me be honest, these days times are hard for everybody, okay? Even if you got a decent job or career or whatever, prices have been going up, our paychecks sometimes can't pay for everything, and we have to scrimp and scrounge at times, to get decent food in our stomachs. So in light of that, considering my own experience of knowing how to cook on a budget and how to, get, decent nutritious meals that won't cost all that much, I decided to share some of the dishes that I know how to make that aren't going to break your wallet, because I know a lot of you guys out there, especially a lot of you guys who, who watch my channel and I've talked to a couple of times, many of you guys don't have all that much. So, but yet it's not like you want to subsist on freaking ramen all the damn time. So what we're going to do is make a really tasty Asian dish that I know how to make. It's not going to break your wallet. It's going to be pretty cheap. And it's going to be very tasty also. And if you guys happen to like this, maybe I'll do more videos like this. But I figured while I was cooking, I might as well get on with this. So I'm going to show you what I'm working with now. See, we already got our stove all set up. Don't mind the teapot. I just finished warming water for tea. You know me, I love my tea. I already finished utensils. This is what we're working with right now. Okay, actually, shit. We need to start that. We need to start our white rice. These are the main ingredients you're going to need. First, you're going to need at least a decent skillet or a frying pan or a wok or whatever you're going to be stir frying with, because this is going to be a stir fry. Excuse the look of that, but it's clean, and yeah, I know it's scratched up, but this has served me very well. So shut up. We're making red curry, which is a Thai dish that I really like, a nice spicy Thai dish. For those of you who don't like foods too spicy, there are ways to adjust it so that it won't kill you. But the main ingredients you're going to need are the chicken breast, which I need to get out here, which I will in a moment. You're going to need coconut milk. Coconut milk can be a bit expensive unless you know what to look for. If you happen to have a decent grocery store near you, like one of the bigger chains, you can, believe it or not, pick up a can of coconut milk. And you want coconut milk, not creme de leche. There's like a sweetened one. That's not the one you want. You just want straight up coconut milk. They got Thai versions, they got Spanish versions, but some stores even have their own brand, which you can pick up for around, I've seen some places sell it for $1.50, other places selling it for like even less. There was a place I used to go to that I can get a can of coconut milk for $1.08, which was the best price I can find. Generally, the average price is around $2.50, but if you know where to go, you can get it for a bit less than that. You're going to need the actual base for the red curry. Now, this happens to be the brand I pick up because it's the most, it seems to be the most popular one. Like, there was another brand I used to get that was cheaper, and I liked the flavor a bit better, but that one's harder to find. This one's not bad, and if you're going to cook this the way that I cook it, it's going to come out really good. They have instructions on the back on how to make the red curry, but I'm going to make mine a little bit differently. And I found that it actually makes it taste better. So there you go. I don't know why that thing should only went to 10 minutes, because this rice needs to cook longer than that. Anyway, this is optional, but I really feel that this really helps to make the flavor authentic. This is fish sauce. Whatever you do, make sure that if you're going to get fish sauce, get this particular brand, because this is the cheapest one I've seen. The red curry stuff I showed you over here, they have a brand, too freaking expensive. I've seen another one, too freaking expensive. This one was at least half the price that I've seen of other brands with a smaller bottle size than this one. So get this one. Again, this one's a bit optional because the smell of it might turn you off, but it really does flavor the food really well. And obviously, finally, we need the meat. We're going to be making red curry with chicken, so let me just get the breast meat out, and we'll get started. Okay, as you can see here, here's our chicken breast. I work with chicken breast because I can get it pretty cheap. I'm actually able to get how many pounds? Like 8-pound bag for around like $5 or something like that. Your mileage may vary where you're at, but you want a pound of meat. And it doesn't have to be chicken breast. You can do this with thigh meat. I happen to like it with thigh meat, but thigh meat's a bit expensive. Just whatever you can get that's cheap, get it that way. So, yeah, and I measured it out as a pound of it. Get yourself a kitchen scale so you can know how much a pound is, but this generally is about a pound. And like, in fact, I measured it out, so like this, and this little bit of flesh over here was pretty much a pound of meat. So what you want to do is cut it up into small pieces. Get out your knife, and yes, I know this is a cleaver, but this happens to be one of the sharpest ones I have on me right now. You might be hearing the dishwasher in the background. It's because I'm washing my other stuff, and my favorite knife happens to be in there, so we're using this. This is really sharp. By the way, a little bit of a tip. When you're using a knife, I notice a lot of people, especially people who don't know how to cook, they hold their knife like this when they're cutting. No. Hold it here. This is where you want to hold a knife. Like right here. A cleaver probably shouldn't be held that way because they're chopping with it, but I'm using this like, you know, for slicing. And when you're using a standard knife, like, hold on. It's not like, well, this is a bread knife. Ah! Freaking most of my knives. When you're holding a knife and you're cutting with it, you know, you want to, you know, have it here. You got more control here. And in fact, I even know chefs, they hold it like that when they're cutting and slicing and stuff. So, bit of a tip for you guys. Make sure your hands, of course, are washed before you're working with any meat or any food you're cooking. Make sure your hands are washed. So, we're going to be cutting these in some small pieces. Some people might want it in bigger pieces, but it's okay to have it like, you know, around a piece like that, you know. And cut it up. I mean, you don't have to be fancy. Just cut it up, you know, how you're used to cutting it up, you know. I had just thawed this out. It's still slightly cold in the middle, but not too much so. That piece was a little too big. You know, just slice it up, slice off the fat there. We don't need this. We do not need that, so we'll put that aside. Cut up some more pieces here. You know, you just want this in nice small pieces, like stir-fry pieces. If you've stir-fried before, or if you've eaten stir-fry, you know like how big the chicken tends to be when you go to a Chinese restaurant or something. That's the slice that's the size you're looking at. This is a little too big. Some people like it that big. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Like that's a good size right there. And I'll cut this one in half too. That works for me. Let's chop this one up here too. And again, you don't have to be. I'm pretty sure there's some like professional chefs or people who are really good at this who are wincing at how I'm cutting this up right now. But I'm not a professional chef, and I'm just making this for people who need to eat on a budget and want to come up with something tasty instead of, you know, ramen noodles all the damn time, or just whatever it is that they're eating. You know, just cut up some nice bite-sized chunks. That's what we're looking at here. Some nice, you know, tasty morsels that you can, you know, that you'll enjoy when you're frying it up. And another reason why you want to cook it kind of small and you want to cut this thin but not too thin, like this thickness right here is a good thickness. It'll cook up faster in the when you're stir frying it. The thicker the piece, the longer it's going to take to cook thoroughly, obviously, right? So you want to not make it too thick, but don't make it too thin either, because if it cooks too fast, then you're going to end up with you know, some burnt chicken or dry chicken. Like that's the problem with chicken breast, as everybody knows. Chicken breast, when it's cooked, tends to be really dry. And the reason for this is simply because there isn't that much fat in there. Unlike when you're working with dark meat, you know, white meat doesn't have that much fat in it, which is what helps to keep it juicy, as it were. Actually, there's a little bit of flesh in there. I can slice that right on off and get the fat off. So when you're cooking with chicken breast, you want to make sure you're keeping an eye on that stuff and don't overcook it. If you overcook it, that's what dries it out. All the moisture just comes right out of it because there isn't that much fat to help store keep it in there. So keep an eye on, you know, your food as you're frying it up and cooking it. Okay, just a bit of a tip for you guys. So we sliced it up nice and nice little chunks, and it's pretty much ready. Okay. Also, make sure that your rice is already cooking by this time. I normally like having the rice already cooked. Stop and start. There we go. I normally like having my rice already started. Like before I even start chopping up the chicken, my rice is already going. And if you notice, I showed you before, I have it cooking in my rice cooker. I know how to cook rice the old-fashioned way, and if you don't have a rice cooker, then yeah, cook it the old-fashioned way. But really, in this day and age, it makes no sense not to have a freaking rice cooker, especially if you don't have that much money to begin with. And you might be saying, well, if I don't have that much money, then why should I spend extra money on a rice cooker? Because rice is one of the cheapest freaking things you can buy that has some nutrition in it. It will give you the fiber you need, and you can do so much with rice, okay? There's a reason why so many cultures around the world, from Asian cultures to African cultures, people eat rice for a reason. It's good stuff, it's cheap, it's plentiful. And you don't, especially in this day and age, it makes no sense to me not to have a rice cooker, because with a rice cooker, all you gotta do is just grab your freaking cup, toss the rice in there, toss the water in there, hit the button, and you don't even have to think about it until the thing beeps to let you know it's ready. Instead of doing it the old-fashioned way, where you gotta get your pot out and then measure your rice perfectly and then put it in there and then constantly make sure you didn't put too much water or too little water. Fuck that. Get a rice cooker, all right? Solves a whole lot of problems. I mean, these days I look at somebody who's cooking without a rice cooker the same way I would see somebody who, say, is knocking two rocks together to light their cigarette. I mean, yeah, you could do it that way, but why would you when there's better ways to do it? So enough of that rant. The rice that I'm cooking is white rice, and specifically it's jasmine rice, because I really love the taste of jasmine rice, and it goes very well with red curry. But jasmine rice is kind of expensive, so I need to stress that you do not need to do this with jasmine rice. I'm actually able to get this fairly cheap, but even so, it is still a bit more expensive than regular white rice. So if all you can afford is regular white rice, or if that's what you want to get instead of spending the extra money just for a little bit of extra flavor to your rice, yeah, white rice will serve you just fine. In fact, you know, it's not that big a deal. I happen to love jasmine rice. I love rice, period. I love different types of rice, and I'll cook with different types of rice. But it's not that important if you can't get jasmine. If you can get it cheap, though, get it, because it's tasty stuff. There's a reason why Chinese restaurants tend to work with it, or Asian restaurants, like Thai ones, Vietnamese. I'm rambling. So now that we got this nice and sliced up, right, and we got this cooking, right, what we're now going to do is, well, start cooking this up. Now, we need oil for this. And the oil I like to use when I'm making any Asian dish that has a slightly sweet taste to it, because this will have a slightly sweet taste because of the coconut, I use coconut oil. Two reasons. One, I like the flavor of it, and two, it's supposed to be pretty good for you. But again, you do not have to get this. And again, I got this one on sale, so I had no problem, buying it. But generally, this stuff tends to be kind of expensive too. So what do I recommend for somebody who's trying to save a few extra bucks? Any oil will do. If you happen to be a stir-fry fan and you like sesame oil, work with sesame oil. If you would rather save a whole lot of money and you just rather work with vegetable oil, work with vegetable oil. Whatever oil you have that will, turning on the fire here. Any oil you have that will, that you want to work with that. There is no reason for you to break your wallet getting some fancy oil. I just happen to like using the coconut oil because I can get it cheap, and I happen to like that it adds just that extra amount of coconutness, so to speak, to the food that I'm making, because we're making this with coconut milk, obviously. Okay, we're back. I had to readjust the camera so I can be closer to the frying pan, skillet, whatever, as well as wash my hands. Remember, I'm working with meat here, and I'm constantly touching, so I want to have my hands clean. I've put about 2 teaspoons in here. That's generally enough. You want to eyeball it also just to make sure, it's the right amount. Don't burn your oil, by the way. In fact, when you're working with any food where you got to put a bit of oil in there, don't burn your oil. If when you're heating up the oil, you start seeing fumes coming out of it, you let it get a bit too hot. You want to get it hot, but not to the point where you start seeing, smoke and shit and fumes coming out. You got it too hot, you waited too long. Get that food in there. So now you hear the crackling. I know it's pretty much ready. You can always test it, of course, by taking a small bit of meat or even just a little bit of water and just flicking it into the pot like that. And if it sizzles, it's ready. But I can tell just by the way it looks. See how the oil's running like that? And I didn't put too much. Just a little bit of oil, how it's running like that. And the consistency of it, that's hot enough, because you hear the crackling, right? But we're not ready to put our chicken in there just yet. And you're like, oh, what the hell? We need to put this in. Now, the instructions for this is where we're now going to be deviating it and doing this my way. The instructions say to put the coconut milk in first and then put this in there and let it get all red and then add the chicken. No, you don't want to do that. Because if you do it the way they're telling you to do it, then the chicken's not going to absorb as much of the flavor as it could. If you do it the way I'm about to show you, it will. And you will still get that flavor that you expect if you ever had red curry before. So generally we want to put in about 3 tablespoons worth. This is actually going to empty out my jar because I've already made red curry before. I like my red curry to be nice and hot. So, there we go. And this is sizzling a bit, so I'm kind of getting off the fire a bit. So I'm thinking it's getting a little bit too hot. So, what you want to do is you want to put that red curry in the oil and you want to mix it up so it gets nice and fragrant. When you got that when you get that kitchen smelling really nice and flavorful and spicy, when you got that warm smell filling up your kitchen, you know it's ready. But generally, you want to mix it up for about like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, maybe 3, but I think 3 is pushing it. You know, because you want this to still kind of keep this nice pasty consistency. If you keep this in here for too long, it's going to lose its moisture and it's going to get all rubbery on you, and you don't want that. This might actually need a little bit more oil. Just a little bit. I might have actually gone a little overboard. Generally, 2 to 3 tablespoons is enough. I put a little bit more than that because I really like my red curry hot, but 2 to 3 tablespoons should be enough. 2 to 3. Actually, yeah, I'll say 2 tablespoons if you just want, you know, that regular red curry taste. 3 if you like me and you want this. You want to feel that curry. I mean, it's not going to be like super hot like a ghost pepper or anything like that if you put in 3. But you're gonna feel the zing if you like it the way I like it. Okay, so this looks good to me now. So now we're gonna put it in. And of course, now you want to stir fry. You want to mix it up. And you want all that red curry goodness, all those, you know, that taste, that red stuff. You want that coating every last bit of chicken. So that, you know, it just gets into the flesh. I mean, I know there's some people out there who, like, they make these dishes and they just follow the instructions to the letter. And the way it's made, the sauce will taste like what it is that you want, but the chicken will just simply taste kind of bland if there's even any flavor to it at all. This way, at least the chicken will absorb some of that. So it won't just be the sauce you're enjoying. See? And if you notice, every now and then what I'm doing is flipping over the pieces, because as this is browning, as you can see, the outer flesh of each piece turning a lighter color. It's funny they call it browning, but obviously it's turning a lighter color. It's turning a whitish color. That's what chicken does as it cooks. It starts out pink, you know, and then as you're frying it up, it turns out white. As I'm seeing that, I flip it over so that we're not just cooking one side. Because I want, you know, I want this to cook as evenly as possible. So as I'm stirring it around, you know, if I see a piece that looks like it has not touched any heat yet, I'm going to flip it over. Maybe I'm being a little too anal about that. I mean, some people say that you're already stir frying it, so that's going to do the job for you. Yeah, but I just like making sure. See? Now, you don't want this to cook all the way. You just want to get it so that the side, you want to get it almost cooked. Like, you know, the sides are already turning white. There might be still a little bit of pink on the pieces, or you know the middle is still not fully cooked yet. That's where you want this before you add anything else. You do not want to thoroughly cook this before adding in the coconut milk, which is the next step. You don't want to do that, because if you do, you're overcooked the chicken, because you got to have this then simmering in the coconut milk for like another 15-20 minutes. And that's definitely going to dry this out. But if you do it the way that I'm telling you, the pieces are still going to be pretty juicy, or at least not super dry by the time you're done. But again, this is something that you got to constantly pay attention to. Even when it's simmering, you could walk away for about 10 minutes, but be mindful of it. Don't forget, because if you come back like around like, you know, sometimes it might even take 20 minutes, maybe 15 is enough. You go back, it's fully cooked, the pieces are still juicy, and you're like, okay, now it's time to eat. You wait too long, you're going to come back, and yeah, the sauce is going to be all tasty, but the chicken just is dry as hell. And that, I hate dry meat. So, I hate dry chicken breast. So now, this is a good time to add in the coconut milk. Okay? That's one thing I like about this particular brand, the fact I could just, you know, it's just, you know, it's the ring top. You just quick pour. If you got a regular can, then just make sure you've already opened this thing up with your can opener before you start cooking. Because you don't want to like, oh shit, I need my can, oh god damn it, I need to, what's the can opener? You're wasting time. You know, you're not prepared, and this is meanwhile sizzling away. You know, timing is everything in cooking. You don't want something on the fire for too long. Throw that away. Have our nearby kitchen garbage can. See, now this is looking good. And notice the color already. See, this is already looking good. This is looking the way I expect it to. This is looking really good. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I've seen red curry served just the chicken and the coconut sauce, and that's it. But these days, people need more fiber, and if you're like me, you like your vegetables. When this is the next step that we need to do. We need this to boil. So I'm going to turn up the fire a bit. I had this on medium heat. I forgot to say that, by the way. Had this on medium heat. I'm going to turn up the heat a bit because I want this to boil. Okay? And then after it boils, I'm going to bring it back down again. Get it kind of like low, mid-ish. And then we're going to let it simmer for about 15 minutes. And after the 15, we're going to be done. But I was talking about vegetables. Once this thing starts boiling, that's when I'm going to throw in my vegetables. Now, here's where we get to the whole broke-ass, you know, cook stuff, for those of you who don't have that much money. Get frozen vegetables. If you can't get them fresh, I mean, you can get them fresh, and you can get them cheap, fresh, but if your budget doesn't allow it, or maybe they're charging way too much for fresh vegetables where you're at, the next best thing is frozen vegetables. I have some people who think that, no, canned is better. But from my perspective, when you're working with frozen vegetables, most of the time, from what I've seen with companies that sell frozen vegetables, they grab, you know, they tend to flash freeze them as soon as they're picked, or as soon as, you know, they start harvesting them and then, you know, manufacturing them to shove into whatever bags that they're putting them in. Oh, it's boiling. Now we immediately lower. You just want to see, like, the minute you start seeing the bubbles coming in, lower that heat. You don't want this boiling too long, or it's going to draw out too much of the juices from the chicken pieces, and it's going to get dry. See, now we just want this to simmer. Simmering is good. This is fine. Like, I lowered the heat, you know, and just get it off the heat for a little bit. These extra steps I'm taking, you don't really need to, but I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist when I cook. All right. Now, this is a good time to add the vegetables. The frozen vegetables. And they tend to be pretty cheap. Now, what vegetables to throw in? It depends. If you want this to taste more traditional, then you can get yourself a pack of, you know, Asian-style vegetables to throw those in. But if you're broke, or if you're watching your budget, just grab any bag of frozen vegetables that costs around $1. There's some places that sell them for, like, you know, 12 ounces of mixed frozen vegetables. Usually it's the California blend. They call it that. You know, the ones with the broccoli, the cauliflower, and the carrots and such. You can pick that up for around $1. Sometimes $1.25. Yeah, it hovers around there. If you're lucky, you can find a pound of this stuff for about that much. Now, how much of this do you put in there? That depends on you. Do you want this to be something to completely smother your rice with and have like tons of that liquid stuff to sop up? Then you want like maybe a little over a cup. It also depends on how many people you're serving too. Like I'm serving 3 people, so about maybe 1.5 cups of these is going to be enough. If you love your vegetables, however, and you want this to be just more of a sauce, because I've seen some people, they just treat this as a sauce rather than just straight up red curry. Red curry is like almost like a soup with chicken in there, or whatever meat they're working with. Then you might want to toss in the whole bag, like, you know, the whole 12 ounces, a whole pound. It's up to you. Me, I'm going to put in about 1.5 cups because I still want enough. I don't want the vegetables to absorb too much of this, and then you don't get to sop up your rice with it, so to speak. So, I'm going to get out a decent knife. Actually, I got one right there. Open up our veggies. And I'm going to put in about a cup. Yeah, a cup. Cup's worth. That's a, you can use more. Again, I'm feeding 3 people. I'm feeding myself, my wife, and my son. I'm going to put in 2 cups. 2 cups. Now, of course, you could double up on this. Like, one thing you could do if you want more vegetables in this, and by the way, I'm just using broccoli. Broccoli's good. You could, if you still want a lot of vegetables in there, you don't think this is enough, because I know a lot of people don't get enough vegetables in their diet. We try to in this house, but if you still want a whole lot of liquid, but you still want a whole lot of vegetables, then kind of double up. Put in like 4 to 6 tablespoons of what you call it, of the red curry paste stuff, and 2 cans of the coconut, and then double up, you know, put in the whole bag of vegetables and all that, and you still have a whole lot, but make sure you got a skillet or, you know, a frying pan big enough to do that, of course. I happen to have a really big one, but I'm not using it right now because I don't really need to. I think this works. This works good. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit more. This is looking really good. I'm so far liking how this is coming out. Now, if you just want to quick do this, you don't care, you just, damn it, I just want to get this done, then all you need to do is wait your 15 minutes and you're done. Alright? However, there's 2 more ingredients we can add to this. There's 2 more ingredients we can add to this that will really make this taste authentic, or as close to authentic as you can get in your kitchen. Alright? Considering the ingredients we're working with. I mean, if you really want this to be authentic, then that means you need to make the red curry paste yourself, you know, and then stir it up the way they do and use their oils and all that. We're broke. We ain't got time for that. So, I can't believe I just freaking said that. But if you want this to be a bit more authentic, this, by the way, also always taste your food to make sure it's going the right way. And when you taste your food, don't just take your spoon or whatever it is you're working with and just instantly put it in your mouth. Look, because other people are going to be eating it. So take your hand right there. That's tasting pretty good. See, I got it off my hand. I'm not eating right off the spoon. Now we want this to be a bit more authentic. This is where the fish sauce comes in. This is an optional thing again because some people cannot stand the smell of this stuff. But oh my God, if you put this in there, that some people, you know, I'm sure some of you guys have tried to make stir-fry stuff at home, and you make it and it's good, but it always feels like there's something missing. Have you ever noticed that? Like when you try to make Asian dishes at home, you got it close, like you'll buy the sauces they have in the store, or you'll buy whatever kits they give you, and it's pretty close, but there's just something missing. In this case, in this particular dish, the something missing I've noticed is this stuff. You want at least a teaspoon of this stuff in there, or a tablespoon. I'm going to put in about 2 teaspoons worth. 1, 2. That little bit is going to make all the difference. It really will. Really, really will. This is not simmering. I probably need to turn up the heat a bit more. You want this to simmer. Just mix that up in there real good. This is, of course, the stage that you put it in, like right about now. You could have also just put this in immediately after you put the coconut milk in, but I like putting it in after I put the vegetables in there because that's getting, I don't want it to boil out the flavor too much. And again, taste your food. There we go. That's closer. Oh, and there's a zing. There's that zing I was looking for. Not only in the flavor, but that red curry burn just caught the back of my throat. I love that. And now I said there were 2 ingredients you need to add to this to make this taste authentic. The first one's the fish sauce. The second stuff, brown sugar. Don't look at me like that. Brown sugar. Seriously. Wash the spoon. Because the thing is, red curry has a slightly sweet taste to it. And even though we have the coconut in there, which is adding to it, the coconut is not all that sweet. You want, and you don't want to make this super sweet. You want just enough so that you know, hey, this is kind of sweet. 1 teaspoon is all you need. Mix that up in there. Turn down the fire a bit because I think it's boiling too much. Mix that in there real good. Anyway, I'm pretty sure you guys are laughing at me at the fact that I'm actually, you know, stirring this all up with a small freaking spoon. But again, I was washing my utensils in there. What do you want from me? So as I notice when I use the big spoons, that tends to increase the chances of stuff splashing all over the stove. When I use this, I tend to have a bit more control. That's just me. Everybody's got their own style. I'm not a professional cook. So, yeah. I just like cooking. There's a difference. Right, already I'm smelling that subtle change because I added the fish sauce and the sugar. I'll taste this a little bit. Once again, give it a taste. Oh yeah, that's red curry. That's what it's supposed to taste like. We got it. So I'd say I put that in there and it's been simmering for about, let's say 5-7 minutes. I'm going to give it like another 10 minutes, right? And when we come back in that 10 minutes, it should be done. Now, if you did the timing right with your rice cooker as well as this, if you started your rice before you start chopping up chicken and all that, then usually I find that by the time this is done, the rice is done. And you can immediately just go right into cooking. And I know this video is kind of long and drawn out a bit, but in all honesty, it's really easy to do this. I can usually get this done in about like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes tops, because I tend to just get everything ready. I have my chicken ready, I have my rice ready. I throw the rice in, I press the button, I chop up the chicken, set it aside for about like 5 minutes or so, because I want to kind of time it with the rice, and then I just throw it in there, do that, let this simmer. And then as soon as this is done simmering, I look at this, and this is either done already, or the rice is just about done. And then I can just serve everybody. So again, we're going to let this simmer for about 10 more minutes, because I think at least 5 minutes has already passed. 5 to 7 minutes must have already passed since I put the coconut in. We'll let this simmer for 10 more minutes, and we'll see how that goes. And here we are. It's pretty much done. Pretty much done. And would you look at that? Only 2 minutes left on my rice cooker. As soon as I had actually cut away, when I said that, okay, we'll be back in the next 10 minutes, I noticed the 10-minute mark right on the rice. So I got it all in time, which again, it just goes to show you that if you plan everything out right, you can get stuff done really quick. Got a little bit of a splashing there from this bubbling, though. I gotta clean that up. I just turned off the fire because this is pretty much ready. I tried out the smallest piece in here, and not only was it, it was cooked, but it was still juicy. So, and plus I noticed some of this has evaporated upwards because unfortunately this was simmering a little bit too hard. This is a decent amount of sauce. Sorry, I'm moving the camera too much. This is a decent amount, but I like this a little bit more. As you'll see by the way I serve this. Most restaurants, when they serve this to you, they'll serve it to you separately. Like they'll have a bowl of this, and then they'll give you a bowl of rice to eat on the side, which is a traditional way to do it. And if I was cooking this by myself, that's how I would eat it. But I got a family, And I can't expect them to eat the same way I eat, you know, the whole, you know, you got the bowl of rice in one hand with your chopsticks, and you're picking off the table off whatever meat dish you got there, and then, you know, I eat that way, they don't. I hung around Chinatown a lot when I lived in New York. Leave me alone. Hey, look, only 1 minute. So I'll be able to show you the food. So this is the way I serve. Okay, so this is how I'm going to serve the food. We already got that there. Our red curry's all set up. I got my water for tea. I think I'm going to have Bengal spice with my food. I've been I'm drinking that lately, and Bengal spice tea is so freaking good. So we got our rice server over here. Oh, duh. We got our, get our serving spoon for the red curry here. So what we're going to do, get out our rice, which is all nice and steamy and hot and ready to go. So what I do is, by the way, the reason why I have my rice server in water is because rice, as you know, is very starchy. And if you just simply serve this and then just stick this on the side, then it's just going to, the rice is going to get all stuck on this, and then it's a pain in the ass to clean. But if after you serve this, you just stick it right back into a little bowl of water, then that keeps the rice from sticking on there, and you know, then it'll be easier to clean later. This is going to be my son's bowl. He really likes this blue bowl. And again, nothing too expensive, you know. Get our rice out. Okay. Stick a little bit of rice in there. He's only 6 years old. He's going to be 7, actually. I should just say he's 7, because in a couple of days he's going to be 7. More than a couple of days, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Not too much. Not too much. Sorry. Had the camera off. And we're going to move over here. Doing everything left-handed. I'm not used to being left-handed. Alright, hold on. Shit. Hold it with my left hand. There we go. That's easier for me. So then, this is the way I serve it. You know, you got the rice over there, right? And then what we're going to do is just simply take as much, you know, chicken vegetables that we're going to serve whoever we're serving, and just put it right in either the side or the middle, right? You could use a little bit more broccoli. A little bit more chicken and broccoli. And then we just smother up the rice. That's the way I like doing it. You can serve it any way you want. What the hell am I doing? I had the camera off. I'm sorry. So as you can see, you know, I just smother the rice in that flavor, because everyone in my family, my wife, my son, they love this sauce. So I smother the rice in this stuff and just put the chicken and stuff on top. And that's how I do it. If you would rather do it separately, where you have one bowl with the rice and you got another bowl with your red curry, and you're just eating it more traditionally, do you. That's fine. But this is the way I tend to serve it. And this is just a small amount, because again, I'm making this for my son. So yeah, there you go. Red curry on a budget. This is how I do it. And this is, you know, I'll have, you know, the basic instructions in the description, obviously, to sum it all up. But this is basically how I do it. It's easy to do. It's, you know, it's very easy to make. The ingredients don't cost much at all. Like that jar of paste that I picked up, that cost me like $2 something. The can of coconut milk cost me a little under $2.50. The white rice is really cheap to get. If you know, you don't have to do it with jasmine rice. Regular white rice is cheap. Bag of frozen vegetables, cheap. And even the chicken breast. If you certain stores, you can pick up instead of. I know some people say, why don't you just get it fresh? Yeah, well, it can be expensive. If you can't afford to get it fresh, then just simply pick it up frozen. And if you pick up a bag of chicken breast frozen, that saves you some money right there. So you end up with a really nice meal that you can cook really quickly. Your family will really like it a lot. You'll really like it a lot. And it doesn't cost all that much to do. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. If you like this, and if you want me to do more, then the next one I'll probably will be more of a Haitian thing. Rice and beans and chicken, which is also, you know, it's very quick. Well, fairly quick. It won't take up that much time, especially since we're going to be making our rice and beans in there. So, yeah, hope you guys like this, and, yeah, take care.